Good afternoon, folks. You already know what time it is. It is Friday. We are at episode 12 of the Liza with a Z podcast, and I am so excited for this episode. I've been waiting for this one to drop. I have a great guest. He's so inspiring. One of the podcasters that I look up to, and he's passionate and he has a lot of drive. The best contact in the biz. Please welcome David Van Auken to the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. Big fan of yours. Appreciate it.
You're gonna make me blush with that statement, honestly. I really do appreciate you coming on the show. This is a big deal to me. Little by little, I try to improve each week and bringing on great guests and great information, not only about like the people that I bring in, but about combat sports, because this is what I like to talk about, especially you. You like to talk about that too. So how are you doing today?
Doing good. It's Friday. My favorite day of the week is actually a Monday. I'm a Monday guy. I love starting the week off and just really getting into it. But with all the kiddos running around, I like Fridays. And then tomorrow night is UFC. Tonight is Knuckle Mania. I'm about to leave here in a second so I can get out there to Lakeland. So I'm so pumped. It's going to be a really good weekend.
It is. I'm excited. I'll be there tonight. It's going to be a great event. There's going to be a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of people in town, period.
Right.
Because it's not only Super Bowl weekend, it's crazy in Tampa right now. I live here. And so the hype, as soon as the Bucks won, since then has been crazy. And like, I work for a sporting goods store. I'm not going to give it away, but I work for a sporting goods store and I'm the apparel manager there. So the amount of merchandise that I'm selling for the Bucks is just crazy.
All right. Real quick, before we get into it. So I would assume, because you living in Tampa, you're rooting for the Bucks. Is that correct? Can I assume that?
I will go for the hometown team.
Okay. Let's do a friendly bet.
Oh, okay. We can do that.
If the Bucks win, if you have a swag, if you have a shirt, a hat, a tank, anything, a girl tank, I'll wear anything. I'll wear Liza with a Z podcast shirt, tank, hat, scarf, anything you want. If the Chiefs win, I'll get you a legit Fight Bananas tee or polo, and then you would have to wear Fight Bananas on your shirt, on your show. Deal?
I'm okay with that bet. Deal.
Love it.
Love these wagers. I'm already getting excited. All right. So, I mean, I do admire everything that you do for the podcast and everybody in the fight industry. You have such a leading platform and others honestly just like take on. I've watched a lot of your interviews and I love the way that your format is and how people are comfortable to be able to talk with you. I feel like sometimes it's kind of hard to do interviews because not everybody has like that personality to like, work with. And it's tough because you want to ask the right questions and you also want to give a good show, for people to stay interested. So for people who don't know you or don't know about the Five Bananas podcast that are obviously living under a rock, how did you get started with it? And in what year actually did it start?
Wow. It's only been, I would say like a year and a half, pushing 2 years now in that range. Long story short, I was doing another podcast before Fight Bananas and, stuff happens. It didn't work out. So we kind of like did our different things. And I thought, honestly, I was going to kind of be done with it. I really loved it. It was like this creative outlet, which is probably, you can say the same thing. There's just some kind of like really, really, I wake up thinking about it. I go to sleep thinking about it. I just love it so much. So I was like, okay, but I thought I was kind of maybe done. And, someone's like, man, why don't you just, and we're doing, so Fight Bananas started just as a website, like it's fightbananas.com. We have articles on it. We have breaking news, fight matchups, Hannah Goldie's fighting. So we have all this content on the website and they never had a podcast. So they're like, man, like we like what you were doing. Why don't you do a podcast strictly just for Fight Bananas and we'll see where it goes. Like, let's just kind of start. And like anything, like, we were talking a little bit before this, you just kind of start and then you just go and you really don't know where you'll be 6 months or 10 months. This stuff always leads to new things. So I was like, okay, I'll start. And that was Myself, I got like, I think over 360 episodes, and we have 3, 4, 5 podcasts underneath us. I think we're over like 600 episodes altogether. And especially only in a year and a half, people are like mind blown about how much content we put in. But like, that's what I've always, at the beginning, I'm like, content is king. And also like, I wanted to build, I know it sounds like so ambitious, especially from a year ago to now, but like, we're kind of, it's getting there. Like, I wanted to build an old platform, like a network and a channel. Like when you want to watch sports, you go to ESPN or Fox Sports 1 on TV, like that's what you do. But one day, if you want to hear or see something about MMA or combat sports or boxing of that nature, we are mostly UFC, but we love the regional scene. We love UFC Fight Pass. If you wanted to hear or see something on that, like I want people 5 years from now, like a goal of mine is like, hey, I'm going to put on Fight Bananas. Like it's like not just me. It's like, we're going to be like this whole brand platform. And in the morning, we're going to have a coffee show, and then we're going to have an interview show, and then we're just going to have a breakdown show. And it's just, we're going to have multiple hosts and multiple personalities. And it's this huge
empire.
Yeah. Empire. I like that word. I think it's going to be an empire.
You heard it here first on the Liza with Z podcast. It's going to be an empire.
I like it. So, yeah, that's how it started, and we've been super lucky. We definitely work hard. We definitely grind, but like it's about relationships and about who you know, and just kind of not even one-sided too. Like you have to do things for other people and connect. And we just been lucky, and we're just we're not stopping. We're just going to keep on going.
I see it growing, and it is a great industry to be in, especially at this time, because combat sports is up. And it got us through the pandemic. It got us through the pandemic too.
Right.
Honestly.
And that's a weird thing you said that. I'm so happy you did. Like, I feel it was going well, but I would definitely double down on that. Like during the pandemic, it like quadrupled and 6 times what we were doing. It was just like, for one, everything else was shut down, and it was like, hey, I'm just going to kind of do this a lot. And I even think like fighters were more accessible, because they're like, hey, it's, a pandemic, and they're not doing anything. They're not going to the gym, and they still want to stay connected. And then it just kind of like gave you more time to think about what you're going to do and what's the next step. And yeah, it was crazy. Like we were doing pretty well. We were happy where we were, and with our like organic growth. And with the pandemic, we just kind of exploded. And that's when we're like, oh, we got something here. Let's just keep it rolling. So I'm happy you said that.
Yeah, I mean, the pandemic was different for everybody. And either you just kind of blended in with everybody in the negative mindset, or you hustled to overcome this period in time in our lives. And it was a crazy year, but we moved on. We're in 2021. We're doing better things. We're doing bigger things. We're networking more. And I mean, literally, I started this podcast like in October, and now I'm here and I'm having a great interview with David today. So I'm enjoying this process, awesome. This ride. It's fun. It's exciting. It's new. I wake up every day. How can I promote today? What can I, post? Who can I connect with today? Who can I interview within the next couple weeks? And, that's the hustle in it. And I love doing it. What were you doing before the podcast? Like, do you have a full-time jobs outside of the Fight Bananas, or this is just full-time Fight Bananas?
Yeah, no, I had a job for 13 years, still doing it. Salesman. I've been hustling, grinding, selling for over a decade, one company. And then, of course, with the pandemic, it hurt. Like no one was traveling, no one was doing, buying and that nature of that sort. So it definitely steered me a little bit to one direction, and still doing it, but it's it's getting us by, with me and the family and all the kids and everything. It's like it's doing it, it's getting it, but it's the Fight Bananas and the podcast and the brand and stuff. That's like that's heart. That's everything. That's like what I say, like when I wake up in the morning, it's like, okay, let's reach out to this or this sponsor or this people, and let's try to help and connect. And it's everything for sure.
I love that. And I love people that are motivated, that have heart towards something, because, it's not a job when you love doing it. So that's how I feel about things
sure.
in my life. So I know this will be a tough question to answer. We've had so many talented people on your show. What are your like top 3 most memorable interviews, I would say, of like 2020?
One, right off the bat, Roy Jones Jr. Just like he was, I still think he's the greatest boxer ever. When he got that fight with Mike Tyson, and it's crazy. Like we didn't help, but like we threw it out there before anyone. It's like, it's crazy. We threw out Paige Van Zandt to bare knuckle. We threw out Anthony Showtime Pettis to PFL. We threw out Roy Jones and Mike Tyson before anyone else was talking about it. And then, you know, when it came to fruition, it was pretty cool because when I talked to Roy about it, like Roy even mentioned it, he's like, yeah, I remember you put it out there, and he like thanked me. And I was like, damn, okay, Roy, okay, you been coming up here. So Roy Jones definitely, and that was one of those things too, like, you know, I'm in my studio now, and we got great lighting, and we got this awesome studio wall. We got all this technology behind us here. And it's like with the Roy thing, they called me 15 minutes before. They're like, hey, Roy Jones has got an interview every 15 minutes. Your spot's coming up in 15. I'm like, what? Like, I'm not even in my studio. So we made it work. We made it happen. I know some people on social media got on me. I literally did it in my car. Like, I was just out and about, and I was like, oh, I'm not passing up a Roy Jones Jr. interview. So we did that. But like back to, I think, to who I am and the whole heart thing, definitely Jillian Savage Robertson. She was our first podcast on Fight Bananas, our 100th, our 200th, our 300th. She's going to be for 400. I even say, we always joke about it when I talk to her, like, Conor McGregor would want to come on for number 400. I'm like, no, Jillian is number 400. Like, that's who we are. So definitely overwhelming Jillian the Savage Robertson. And probably one of the last ones, you said 3. I would say Felicia Spencer. She's definitely one of her favorites in Orlando. And it was so cool. We talk about it all the time. I talked to her, met her maybe 5 years ago when she was on the come up as well. And it was so awesome. Like, she talked about seeing and, you know, her goals. Like, she was talking to me about her goals, and every single goal, like, she's like, hey, I want to fight Cyborg. Hey, I want to fight Amanda Nunes. Like, she's like reached it. She did exactly what she did. Do. And then we just talked to her like a month ago about a real serious issue, and with like overdose and everything. And like, we kind of put combat sports to a side, and it was just kind of like different. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I know it meant a lot to her. It meant a lot to me that she wanted to come on Fight Bananas first to kind of open this door. And it's actually got a really, really good response. It's one of our top 3 most downloaded shows ever, good views. And we're just kind of happy. It was just kind of opening. If we can do good, if we can literally help one person that on that show, I'm fine. Like, whatever, maybe we help 5, 10, 1,000. I don't know. But it was cool to kind of talk about something serious and real. So it was so many to choose, though. I love them all. I don't take them all for granted. I even say this every time. Like, I still, to this day, I get like goosebumps and butterflies every time I'm about to do an interview. And people are like, oh, you talked to me like 10 times. I'm like, no, it don't matter. Like, I still get it. So it's fun.
That was another question I was going to ask you. Like, do you still get nervous right before? Because I know, like, right before, like, maybe sometimes the night before I have like anxiety and I can't sleep, but like more out of excitement. Right. And then I also I do get nervous. Like, what if I don't speak right? What if like nobody likes the episode? But then I'm like, you know what? Just do it no matter what. This is what you're doing. You're still putting out positive content. I'm not about putting out negativity out into like the world. And so doing this does bring in good, positive energy, and it also puts it out. So that's why I love doing shows like this, because you get to connect and really get to know somebody. Right. And I'm looking forward to seeing you and just being able to connect to and that's why this industry is so great. You get to connect with fighters and coaches, and not only talk about the combat sports, but get to know their real side, because everybody's human, you know? And just like you talked about overdose, everybody has like emotional and some kind of mental issue. I'm not going to say it's like extreme, but we all have our anxieties and our insecurities and our fears. And it's good to know that these top like level athletes in the industry also can be human and connect with us who look up to them and inspire, like, hey, you know what, they go through problems too. They go through their family stuff too.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the great thing about having these podcasts, that people are able to express themselves and just, you know, get connected with everybody here in the
Right. It's so
podcast
funny,
world.
like a couple kind of 2-3 stories. One is like text. So, you know, talking my wife, talking to my best friends, all this stuff. And it was like a couple days ago, maybe a week ago, my last 3 texts that came through was from Laura Senko, Hannah Goldie, and Felicia Spencer. And I'm like, that's my last 3 texts. Like, these are like monsters in the industry. Laura Senko's a star. Me and like Hannah Goldie's great friends with my wife, and Felicia's like you know, we love Felicia Spencer. So it was like, I'm like, these are my last 3 texts. Like, it's not a friend, it's not a family member. And also kind of like Jacob Kilburn just fought on Fight Island a couple weeks ago on ABC, and him and I FaceTime each other all the time. And I FaceTime him. I knew he was getting ready to leave for Fight Island. And he answers, and he's literally, I see like he's walking through the tunnel in the airport. Like he's literally going to get on the plane. I'm like, you didn't have to answer. He's like, no, I wanted you to see this. Like, he's literally on his way to Fight Island, which is this awesome thing. I had fighters FaceTime me, like you said, from Fight Island. Like, it's so wild, like how many people in the industry, fighters, coaches, promoters, gym people, like, connect with me on a daily. Like, it's wild. I'm not trying to be like that person, but it's like I get calls, texts, FaceTimes. Hey, this fight might happen. This might happen. Just like all this bit of information, like hourly, minutely. It's pretty wild. It's crazy. Like how much it's like you said, the connection is definitely real.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, in order to keep myself informed, I follow many pages, but yours is like one of the top. Like, I have to have notifications because I like to keep up with all the upcoming fights. And I think I saw yesterday something, not on your website, but something about Habib, and I'm like, is there a possible fight coming up? Because like that would be the best.
The funny thing is about that, so we have a great writer for our website. His name is Ross, really good writer. He lives in like Ireland, across the world, and he writes on our website. And probably a month ago, I heard that could happen. Like before the whole Habib decision with Dana White and the Conor fight and everything, like I heard it was being talked about. And me and Ross went back and forth. I was like, Ross, like, this could happen. Like, I'm hearing some inklets of information that, you know, one guy might do this. And Ross was like, really? Like, well, let's kind of get more information before I write something out. And then yesterday it exploded, and I reached out to Ross. Remember what I told you 6 weeks ago? Like, it's pretty cool when, like, we've had some crazy good information. And so we have some really great connections and sources, if you want to say that. And it's pretty wild sometimes, the information we know before it happens. That's probably maybe one of the perks, I would say. Like, it's wild to know, you know, I know 4 to 6 UFC fights right now that's not even announced, but I know what they are. It's wild. It's cool.
That's amazing that you have those opportunities to be able to be like in the know the group. So I was very lucky to be able to meet Kat last year after her last MMA fight, and she won. And I think this was right before she started the Kat Nelson show, and then she started it. And what made you choose Kat to start that show? Because she's so talented. I just saw her this last weekend at Combat Night, and we had a great time. We hung out, and I feel like me and her, we do so well together because we're both growing, and we have a connection because we're both starting out in our podcast journey. And honestly, she's pretty badass, and I freaking love her. But what made you choose Kat? She has a different way of doing interviews. I mean, we all do. Yeah. But I love her way, her format. I love the way she talks to people, and she's very intelligent. So,
very.
How do you choose
Two things. Number one, first and foremost, and I'm going to say this in the best way, she's probably the exact opposite of me. And like, I dug that right away. I'm like, wait a second. Like, I'm more, every single podcast I do, I mention the kids. I could be talking to any UFC fighter, and somehow they organically come up during the conversation, and family, and just, you know, watching go home and watch TV and some things. And it's like, I feel like Kat in a great way is the exact opposite of me. And like, like I said, if we're building this brand, it would just be like, if you go to the channel or you go to YouTube and you listen to podcasts and you're listening to 3-4 in a row, and if they all sound the exact same, like why listen to 3? Just listen to 1 and you're good. I'm like, if you listen to me and then you listen to Kat Nelson's episode right after me, it's totally different in a great way. Like I'm that's why I'm a huge fan of Kat. Like, I think her potential is endless, limitless. I love her vibe. I love her mojo. And I like how she's a fighter. I think she's got a huge fight career in front of her. Like, that's another thing. Yeah. Like, I really thought when I was kind of not picking and choosing, but I was like, dude, I think she can be humongous in the fight game. And, you know, like, yeah, she's just the opposite of me. And I was like, dude, I think this could work. And then the second thing, I saw it on social media, probably same thing, like 6-7 months ago. When I was thinking about adding, like trying to get her on the team in a way, like she threw it out there. She's like, you know, I might be thinking about doing a show. And then as soon as I saw that door, I called her like that instant. I was like, hey, I want you on the team. She's like, what? And we just one conversation led to another. And yeah, she's almost like 20 episodes in and she's building, and you know, and we got some humongous things in the works. I definitely think she's going to be a part of it, and she's going to be, you know, definitely a vital part of the Fight Bananas team moving forward.
We talked about a couple of things and what she has planned for this year. Well, we were having a drink after the combat night, and you know, some call outs that were made for her to do some potential fights. And I think she's currently training. So, I mean, I love her. I love her show. I tune in every week, and it is different. I love the fact that she likes to speak to a lot of women and support the women, the fighters in the industry, because sometimes I feel like, I don't want to say we're underrated, but it's such a male dominant sport.
Oh, I would say it. I think you guys are so underrated and not undervalued, because I feel some like Laura Senko. We've been a huge fan of Laura Senko. We talked to her. I feel like I'll date stamp, but I feel like we talked to her like a year and a half ago before she was starting to like really commentate. And I talked to her about, I'm like, Laura, like you should be on the mic, on the stick, like you should be a lead commentator. She's like, no, that's a dream of mine. And now it's like kind of coming to fruition. I'm like, I told you, Laura, that's what I mean. Like we even talk, it's cool. Like it's kind of one of those things. I'm actually charging my laptop, like a nice light on, the battery's flowing through. So
yeah, right.
I think man, like I am a huge fan of female MMA, and like one thing you guys do, I think females do so much more than the boys. Like you guys scrap. Like when it's time to go, like you girls, like I feel some of the most exciting fights. The best fight of last year was that Weili Joanna fight.
Oh, yes.
I'm a huge fan of female MMA. I got twin girls of my own, so I'm just a huge fan of females can do absolutely what men can do. And let's just be honest, you guys can do 80% things better than what men can do. So like, I'm just a huge fan. So I'm about it.
That's a reason why I started this show too. I had a mentor. His name is Scott Lynch. He's with the Motivational Mind podcast. And I listened to a lot of his podcasts during quarantine, and it helped me so much break out of the negative mindset and a lot of things that were holding me back and fears and insecurities about this show, because this show has been like a seed planted for a very long time. Like when I first started my own training journey, and just the difficulties of being a woman in the combat sports, just me trying to train for my health purposes. Right. Men would come at me in different ways. I've had threats because I would, people would see content of me fighting with men or my coaches or, some of my fighter friends. And I would get random messages of like, hey, bitch, come fight me. And I'm just like, in a way, I'm a little flattered because you see me as a threat, right. You see me as a threat, right. And then in a way I'm like, but don't disrespect me, because I'm only doing this for me and my gain and my benefit. I'm not doing it for show. not doing it for your benefit. But, you know, it has its up and downs and a lot of criticisms, but I'm one of the people that want to continue to push women in the industry and making sure that they are known and well appreciated.
Pivoting. Like you always just have to pivot. Like for the longest time I think for the first 100 episodes, it was just the podcast. Like I loved, and when I mean podcast, I mean like it was just audio, and that's how I got into it. Like I love audio podcasts. I drive a lot. I travel a lot. So I love just listening to stuff. So like for almost the first 100 episodes, it was just all audio. For some reason, some way, like iHeartRadio really attached with our podcast and like kind of promoted it on their, you know, socials of that nature and their site. And like iHeartRadio, it's crazy. Like still to this day, our downloads on iHeartRadio are just so much abundant more than any other podcast platform. Because like I said, like they put us up. They're like, hey, Fight Bananas download. And like when you have that subscriber base, like they're kind of locked into it. Like they're just set. So it's like every time I put out a pod, like they're just keep going and going and going. So I'm just like pretty pumped with the audio. And then, like I said, we pivot. They're like, hey, we got to get on YouTube. Like we got to start getting on YouTube. We got to start putting out videos and content because YouTube it's crazy. We got our first check from YouTube like a couple months ago. And it's like, what? YouTube paying us? It was so rewarding for that to happen. Yeah. And like, you can go to our podcast and like, you know, watch a Snickers commercial before watching Fight Bananas. Like there's just something about it. It's like, dang, like we made it, you know what I mean? But now like, we've been in talks with UFC Fight Pass and like there's a couple different situations and avenues, but like we don't want to rush it because we don't want to be in the wrong situation. We this is our thing. Like we want to, when we make that decision or wherever the next major decision happens, like it's going to be on our, level. We're the A side. Like I always feel like I know how like a lot of the fights work and the promotion works. Like let's just be real. There's an A side and a B side to a fight. Yeah. And we, as the content providers, we're the A side. And if the B side doesn't think that, that's fine. We'll just keep grinding till we prove to you, or we're going to be the A side somewhere else. So, I would just say like pivoting. Now we do a lot of stuff, just visual, like almost all of our podcasts. I record almost all of them. We have other people, like we just go straight to YouTube sometimes. Like after the fights, we have those awesome guys, Coffee and KOs. They do our recap shows for every UFC event. It's straight on Fight Bananas YouTube or Fight Bananas Facebook. Like that's just video. So, it's just kind of pivoting. Maybe one day we're like, hey, like Spotify's like all about that Joe Rogan and there's stuff like that. They might go like, hey, Fight Bananas, we just want you to maybe do audio again and we'll pay you this. Like we might go that route. So it's just kind of, pivoting. We're just driving down the highway. And when we see green lights and we see a Wawa gas station with, that iced coffee on lock, like we're just going to get off that exit. You know what I mean?
So when you're not focusing on the podcast, what do you do for downtime? Like what's your hangout,
family,
relax?
Nope. Yeah. Family. It is a absolute grind. It's a tornado at our house 24/7. It's hard. I love it. I wouldn't change anything about it, but it's just so much family. We have an 8-year-old son, 4-year-old son, and now we have twin girls they turned 1 on New Year's Day. So it's family. And sometimes it's hard to kind of shut this down because sometimes I get a really cool phone call or really cool information at 6:00 and it's like dinner just ended. We're cleaning the dinner table. We got one bath working and it's like a fight announcement just broke or like this just happened. And it's like, man, like I got to get to it. But I try to do a good job as a father and a husband and like, hey, I'm putting this down. I'll get back to it at 8:30 when all the kids are in bed. But no, it's I love the podcast. Like I said, I wake up thinking about it, going to sleep, waking, but like everything in my being, I am a father first. I'm a husband. Like it's family. And then the, podcast comes next.
So Knucklemania.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. Tonight is going down.
It is going to be crazy. What are some predictions for some top fights that you think are going to happen here?
It's crazy. I tried to stay away so much from predictions because like I talk to them all and I see them all And it's like, I'm just excited for it. I love the platform. I feel like with Paige Van Zant being in the main event with Britton Hart, I've talked to Britton Hart multiple times in the last 2-3 weeks. She's amped about it. I don't know why I don't get the angle and the hate and the angst towards Paige Van Zant. I'm so pumped for her. Like, what she did is like her, I don't want to like go there, but like heroic, like she went for it. Like she jumped off the cliff, and she deserves everything she's getting. I hate when people talk about other people's money. It's like, man, like I want everyone to get theirs. Like, why would you be upset when someone else makes it and makes their money? Like, that's just a horrible way to live, a horrible way to look. But I got friends on the card, man. I'm so pumped. Like I said, a girl, Taylor Starling, we've been talking to her for multiple years on the podcast, and like, same thing. She's got 2 boys, and just like, she's like been going up. She's had some ups and downs over the last year and a half, and she wanted this fight so bad. And, I feel like, I don't know. I'm really happy for her. I'm happy that she gets this opportunity. Brandon Lambert, we just had on the podcast. So, well, he's been like so vocal on social media about trying to get a fight. And, I talked to him off air, on air, and he's fighting. So it's just like, it's almost like one of these, like, I'm going as like a fan. I'm like going as a friend. And then, I just got the email about the media badges. I'm going in as media, and I got to like work the show. But there's gonna be sometimes I'm just gonna be like, wait a second, like, let me get this moment. Like, I want to a little bit, taken in. I'm excited. Like, there's just so much going on. This is the biggest platform. It's not like another show. They're calling it Knucklemania for a reason. Hopefully it's, just a tremendous card, and hopefully it's great for everyone involved.
Honestly, every bare knuckle that I've seen has just been so hyped. The fights are amazing, and like, you're definitely down to get shocked. Nothing is expected. And I remember I was talking to Mitch. I had him on an episode. He was my second episode, and this is when Jim Allers was fighting Palomino, and we had the interview right before the fight. And of course, I don't like to be biased when it comes to fighting because of, maybe who's my fan favorite, but obviously I was Team Allers, but that turned out to be different for bare knuckle on that fight. And you never know what's going to happen with these fights. And I mean, like Yuli, he had like the 2-second knockout. Nobody was expecting that either. So I can only imagine that tonight is going to be crazy. It's going to be fun, great fights. I'm honestly not going to try to blink. That's how serious, like, as soon as that bell rings, because it's just battle mode as soon as that bell rings, and you never know what's going to happen. So I get why it's so hard to like give the predictions, because you just never know what's going to happen in the ring, especially in a bare knuckle fight. So
I'm just connected to so many of them too. Like you said, Uli, I talked to Uli Diaz before he even got into bare knuckle. I talked to Uli when he was fighting for Titan FC on UFC Fight Pass. I've been talking with Uli for years, and like, we talk off there all the time, and it's like, it's so cool that he's made such a big name for himself under that bare knuckle FC banner. And it's like, so it's like,
now he has a podcast.
I know. I've been talking to him about it. He's very excited about it. And he kind of like was like, yeah, man, like, we've been watching a lot of people. So it's cool. I'm very happy for him. He's got a lot of big things happening in 2021.
Yeah. It's a great industry to be in. And so what are some things that are coming up for the Fight Bananas? I don't want to give away any spoilers, but what are some things that are coming up for the Fight Bananas?
A lot. Probably the first word that came to my head was growth. We're doing some really cool, big things. We're going to take a couple leaps. I just feel like we're at a spot right now, like, I feel like we can always come back to this spot, and there's nothing wrong with it. We love where we're at, but we're gonna swing a big, heavy bat, and we're gonna try to hit some grand slams. We have humongous things in the works. We're building stuff. We're gonna have I think we're gonna build like a home base, a Joe Rogan-esque podcast area room with cool activities. People can come from, all from Florida, or we want to fly people in and hang with us for a day or two, do a, awesome 2-hour podcast. We're gonna have multiple people. It could be a podcast with me and Kat, Aaron the dog breaking down fights. We could have our recap guys there. We can have so many people, do it like a huge show. Instead of like, we might not do like, one podcast, another podcast. We might do like one with all of us involved. And so many big, exciting things. Like, I just want to say growth. It's going to be crazy. I'll text you when stuff for sure happens, but it's like, I feel like we're 75, 80% like in all these decisions. And it's like, and that's actually a major pet peeve of mine. You ready? Is especially on Facebook. Like, so many people like come up on Facebook and they're like, huge announcement, like, oh, I can't wait for this and this and this happens. And then like you check their timeline and nothing happens and they don't make this huge announcements. So it's like, that's like a pet peeve of mine. Yeah. I always, sometimes even when we have like huge guests, I never really announce it to after I recorded the episode. And then sometimes I record it and then say, hey, this person's coming on this date 2-3 days from now. Cause like, and everyone, like, I see so many different shows, they start announcing their stuff. And then same thing, I look on their timeline, I look through their stuff and I don't see the show because stuff happens. I get it. Stuff happens with me personally. I've was going to record and hey, one of my daughters gets sick or something, life happens. I have to cancel. Yeah. Sometimes the fighters or announcers have to cancel. That's life. Like I truly do get it. So it's like, when this big stuff happens, we'll definitely announce. We can't wait. We're going to be on top of mountains screaming it, but we have so many big things in the works. It's kind of mind blowing, to be honest. We're pretty lucky.
I'm excited for you guys. I'm looking forward to it. I know you told me a little bit of details when we had our conversation. So I respect it. I'm looking forward to seeing your success, having it grow, and it's going to get there 100% because I know you have the drive and the passion for it. So is there anyone you want to thank today for just all the support in your life towards this podcast?
I just want to thank myself. I wake up every morning and I'm great. And absolutely. Like, first and foremost has to be my wife. Like, I put so much time into this and so much effort and just even like when I'll be honest, like sometimes even when I'm there, I'm still doing stuff on the side. I'm like, hey, I need 5 minutes to get this information out or whatever the case may be. So like, dude, she's a complete champion trooper of the house. Of course, with doing this, I have to travel tonight. I'm going to be in Knucklemania. Literally, I might not get home to 2, 3, 4 a.m. I'm missing dinner with the kids and bath with the kids, and she's holding it down with 4 kids at home. That's a lot. Like that, she's it. She's the champ. But like, yeah, there's so many people, and I'm not, it's like, I don't like saying a name or two because if I miss out one, it's a lot. Everyone knows who's out there, who's ever helped, who's ever came on, who's ever, contributed, whoever pushed, everyone. Like, I'm thankful for everyone. 2 years ago, they didn't have to kind of give me a chance or an opportunity or, come on. And now it's awesome. Kind of like the roles are reversing a little bit. Like I said, I got fighters now hitting me up saying, hey, when you have a spot, like I want to come on, or I want to announce this. And it's like, okay, let me check my calendar out, when it was always the other way around. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty, it's wild, but it's, there's so many, like everyone, like anyone who's ever helped. I love the haters. Like, keep them coming. Like, anyone who brings criticism, trolling, like, I love it. Like, keep it coming. Like, I don't mind it at all. I got thick skin. And people want to complain on social media and do this and that. It's like, hey, we're just going to keep on thriving. Like, we're we love it. So bring it.
I love it. Honestly, sometimes the haters just drive me to do better. It gives me more fire to the flame. What kind of advice would you give somebody who's just like starting out or even has an idea of starting a podcast?
Probably the 2 things that come to my head. I get asked this a lot too. One, just like do it. Like, just start. However, doesn't matter where you're at, what you're doing it in your kitchen, whatever on your phone, any kind of content, just start talking and start just working your angle and finding who you are as a host or as an interviewer, like just start. And then 2 is like, just keep going. Like, don't stop. Just keep recording, keep asking another person, if someone asks you like, hey, can you do this? Say yes. Like, just keep going. Don't stop. And like, sooner or later, like you're going to get better with your craft. And then 2 is like, you're just going to be like, you're going to keep going. And then someone will see you and be like, hey, you never like a sponsor or a company, like or an organization, be like, hey, I like what you're doing. And then why don't you, do it with us, and just keep going and don't say no. Like, just keep rolling.
Yeah. It's really great to get advice like that. I do my best to get all the information I can when it comes to this podcast. And I'm still like in my very humble beginnings, but I've seen the fruits. I've seen the benefits. I'm able to connect with so many different people. People have their eye on me as well. And so, I've had whispers of some things coming up. I also have some things coming up that I have some plans for the next month.
That's awesome.
And so, I mean, it's just growth. Growth is such a great process because you never know what's going to happen, and there's risks that you have to take. But when you feel accomplished at the end of the day, is like the best feeling, honestly.
Oh, so good. But like, I said this, I think I put it on social media a couple of days ago, but like, I'm addicted to checking boxes. Like, I love it. Like, you never know what the next box is in a way, but like, I'm addicted to like, oh, I did that. Check. Okay. Yep. I did that as well. Check. Like, I'm addicted to checking boxes. I love it. There's just something about it. I have to keep going. I
love it. Well, David, I don't want to take any more of your time. I thank you so much for coming on this show. This is going to be a great episode. I'm going to see you tonight. We're going to be decked out. We're going to have some good outfits and some good content for Knucklemania. I'll be keeping up with you.
Should I wear a sports coat over a tee? Should I wear like a nice polo? Am I wearing some shoes? Am I bringing out the Sperry's with no socks tonight? What am I doing? I don't know. You might just have to see it. I don't know.
You know what? For bare knuckle, I see people come out with swag, like suits, just like real classy event. So I'm gonna come in nice and classy for that event. Usually, like for fight events, I'll like go a little sporty or like a comfortable vibe. But this is Knucklemania. This is gonna be, all the celebrities will probably be in town too because it's Super Bowl weekend. So you never know who you're gonna run into. It's gonna be great.
I can't wait. I'm going to tell Shaq what's up. I'm going to sing the Icy Hot song to Shaq. That's what I'm going to do tonight.
It's going to be
happening.
All right. We're going to have a drink together for sure. It's going to be a good one. So thank you so much, David, for coming on this show. It's going to be such a great partnership, I say, that we're going to build, because I will want to have you here on another episode.
Anytime you want. You reach out to me. You want me on next week? You want me on 2 weeks from now? Anytime you want. A big show's coming up. You want to preview a UFC or another kind of MMA event? I can come on any show you want me to.
I'll talk to you about the idea I have, and we'll see how we can work on that. We're going to keep that on the hush. Tune in if you want to see what's going to happen with me and David. All right, guys. So thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Liza with a Z podcast. We'll see you at Knucklemania, and if not, let's see who wins this wager between the Bucks and the Chiefs. Have a good one, guys.
We're not piping at polo.
See you later, guys.